Hey fam, it's Rachel. Today on Crack Your Bible, we are going to be talking about everybody's most asked about question recently as we head into the holiday season, and that is, how am I going to tell my family that I don't celebrate all of these pagan holidays? Well, we are going to get into that today, but before we do, make sure you hit subscribe with the bell with the parentheses so you're notified of a new gospel message. Because, of course, Satan and YouTube and Google, they're one and the same, but they do not want you to know the gospel, and they will never notify you of a new gospel message unless you hit subscribe with the bell with the parentheses. So let's get started. So for everybody who has not seen my holiday playlist where I break down all of these holidays, especially Thanksgiving, everyone gets hung up about Thanksgiving. Yes, it is a pagan holiday. You guys can check out those videos right here at rachelandstevens.com and go to the episodes. I have them listed by holidays, and I will also link them right up here on desktop and mobile. You can hit those, and they will also be in the description box below. But so I've already talked about why these very popular Western holidays are pagan, and for everybody that doesn't live in the West, you know the equivalents in your own culture, what ones are pagan. So, we don't do these things because God says, do not repurpose the worship of these pagans for me. Do not worship me in those ways. Do not ask them how they worship their God so that you may do so also. Don't do these things. God says, tear down their Asherah poles, smash their sacred stones, tear down their altars. Do not repurpose these things. So for everybody that's like, that's not what it means to me though. Well, that's what it means to God. So we can't do those things. We've already talked about it in our Jezebel series part 2, which I will link right up here, about how, that's not what it means to me is an irrelevant argument because that's what it means to God. God hates these things, and people in Israel, they didn't want to go down to Judah and worship at the temple in Jerusalem. So they're like, oh, I'm going to do it my own way. We're going to have golden calves, and that's going to be Yahweh, and we're going to put one in Bethel, and we're going to have one in Dan. And God's like, no, you're not. So God wipes them out, and then the remnants are sent into slavery in Assyria because God's serious about this. You don't get to repurpose paganism for God. But it's actually about worshiping Jesus. No, it's not. It's about you getting to be friends with the world and not having to stick up for your faith. So we're not going to be doing those things. But there's people out there that are like, hey, okay, I'm all in, I'm all good, but what am I going to tell my friends and my family and my coworkers? Because they're still celebrating these things and they're going to ask questions. Okay, well, the first group of people that we need to talk about is the one that you're going to encounter the most. The people that you really don't know. The people that you have like a very cursory relationship with. Maybe a random coworker, the neighbor that you just randomly wave to, the people at the grocery stores. And they say, oh, Merry Christmas, Happy Halloween, oh, thanks, bye. That's it. Just say thank you. Oh, thank you so much, thanks, goodbye. That's it. You just leave it at that. You don't have to, I just want to let you know that I don't actually celebrate. Don't be that person. This is not the hill that you're going to die on. Just leave it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then you leave. Now, if somebody asks you, oh, what are you celebrating for Thanksgiving? Like, oh, are you going over to a family's house? Are they coming over to your house? What is your child dressing up for Halloween? Are you excited for Christmas? All you have to say is, oh, no, we actually don't do anything for those holidays in my household. We actually don't celebrate those. And you just leave it at that. My entire life, I was talking to my sister about this. People have thought that we were Jewish. Or you get people that think that you're just like a very hippy-dippy liberal, like, wow, you're so progressive. Like, you must be like very pro-Native American rights for not celebrating Thanksgiving. Okay, whatever you want to think, like, great, okay. You guys got to stop caring what people think, especially people that you don't know. If they want to think that you're Jewish, if they want to think that you're liberal, whatever, who cares? Just leave it at that. And a lot of people, they won't ask you more in-depth questions. They'll just be like, oh, okay, whatever. They just assume these things. And, in Western culture, especially in the United States, when somebody asks you, oh, what are you doing? They're not actually asking because they care. It's just chit-chat. It's polite in our culture to just make idle chit-chat. So if you just say, oh, we don't actually celebrate that, or, oh, we don't do trick-or-treating or any of that, you just leave it at that. People aren't going to care because they didn't care in the first place when they were asking you. So that is the first group that is now out of the way. You don't even have to worry about thank you or, oh, we don't celebrate that, and you leave it at that. Now, the second group is going to be the people closest to you now as an adult. And For those people, you need to just have a very frank conversation where you go on the offense and you initiate this conversation. And you need to be bold about this. And, it's important to be bold. I know a lot of people are afraid, and that is not in our nature. We need to be bold. We need to proclaim the gospel boldly, but we also need to know, okay, when is it an appropriate time? And you need to jump on this stuff now, because over the next couple months, there's a lot of holidays coming up, and you need to tell these people before feelings are at an all-time high, and you need to contact them before they contact you saying, okay, so when are you coming over? What are you bringing? Blah, blah. That's not the time to have the conversation. The time is now to have the conversation and be like, hey, family, hey, friends, I just want to let you guys know that I've been doing a lot of research into the history of holidays, because I'm tired of living a life where I feel like I'm just going through the motions. I want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't want to live a life where I'm just going through the motions. So I've been researching these holidays, and I don't like a lot of the things that I found out about the history of these holidays, why they were instituted in the first place, what they represent. And I know that a lot of holidays have become secularized, but I just don't feel comfortable anymore participating in these holidays when they really are at odds with my faith. And I just want to let you guys know that I love you and that I care for you, but I just want to let you know that I'm no longer going to be participating in these holidays. And I wanted to give you guys a heads up before you guys made space for me at the dinner table or spent money on a present for me. I just want to let you guys know that we're no longer celebrating these holidays in my household. And I still love you and I care for you, and I hope that you can respect my decision. And if you'd like to see the information that I've been researching, I'm more than happy to send that over to you. But just know that we're still family. I'm still going to come see you after the holidays, but just know that we're not going to participate in this stuff. And I hope that you can still love me and still respect my decision. And I know that's not going to go over well for everybody, but you're going to have to stand your ground. You cannot allow your family to browbeat you into participating into paganism. You just can't. And I know there's a lot of emotions involved in here, but if the conversation gets too heated where they start verbally abusing you, or if it escalates, oh my gosh, to physical abuse, you need to just say, I love you and I care about you, but you can't speak to me like that, so I'm now leaving, or I'm going to leave this conversation, or I can't speak to you when you're acting like this. This is helpful by phone, but these are conversations that need to be verbalized. This isn't something that you want to text message somebody. I mean, this is your family. You need to call them on the phone or see them in person and tell them, why. You need to frame what you're saying in such a way that you're making a definitive statement. You're not asking for their opinion. You're not asking for their approval. You're not asking for them to change your mind. It's just, this is what it is. I have made up my mind. If you would like the information, I'm more than happy to share it with you, but this is just how it's going to be. So you guys are just going to have to get used to this. This is part of being a Christian and standing up for your faith. You cannot be swayed by emotion. We can be empathetic towards people, and we know that emotions are running high, but at the same time, we still have to stand up for the truth. And, I know that a lot of people still live at home with their parents because they're minors. And I know how that is because, while my family didn't celebrate Halloween growing up, we still celebrated all the other holidays. And it wasn't until I was about 15 that I had a feeling like, we shouldn't be celebrating Christmas. And, I got all of the name calling and, oh, you're just lazy. Oh, you're just a miser. You just don't want to have any fun. And it's just like, you can be respectful at first, do the exact same thing that I just said that an adult should do. Like, hey, this is the research. Present it that way. Hey, I know that the family does this, but this year I'm going to sit out of this stuff. If you can, go work. If you can, go volunteer somewhere. I mean, it's fine to go do something else. So especially if you're covering shifts at work, like if you have like a little part-time job, or even if you have a full-time job, go work on those holidays. I'm sure your coworkers would love to get coverage on these holidays. And that's something that I did as an adult. I just I'd have family come into town to celebrate the holidays, and I would still go to work. I'd still work the holiday shifts, because it's like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be swayed. I'm not going to be blackmailed into celebrating these holidays. I'm going to work. So I worked Christmas Eve. I worked Christmas. I worked Halloween, these holidays, and they were always like holiday shifts, so you'd get extra money. So go make that shift differential, you guys. Go make that overtime by working these holidays if you can. But if you're living in your parents' house and they're not going to listen to you because they think that you're a dumb kid, just know that Jesus knows exactly what you're going through, because he said that a prophet is without honor amongst his own people, in his own household, in his own hometown. So it's always the people that you know that never take you seriously. It wasn't until I was about 25 when my parents finally watched Truth or Tradition by Jim Staley, which was a video about the history of Christmas and Easter, that they finally were like, okay, we're not going to do Christmas and Easter. Just know it always has to come from somebody else, usually, before people are actually going to take it seriously. So I know how it is. I totally get it. But I really think that times are changing where kids have a little bit more power and leeway with their parents because of the politically correct culture, and their parents are kind of at a disadvantage. So I want people to listen to me carefully about what I'm saying. You know the truth. You know that you're not supposed to be celebrating these things. So if your parents, who, yes, we're supposed to respect and we're supposed to honor, tell us to do something that is against God, that is the one time that we can be like, nope, we're not doing this, because we honor God. God comes before everybody else. We love God before we love our own parents. Like, you have to love God the most. God comes first, then family, then everybody else. So if your parents aren't receptive to your respectful presentation of, hey, I'm not going to do this, I still love you guys, but I hope you can respect my decision, you need to take a page out of the playbook of the Tumblrinas, the ones that are like, I'm actually a squirrel, and actually I have 17,000 genders, whatever. You need to take a page out of their playbook and just be like, this is who I am. You're trying to prevent me from being my true self, and these are my religious beliefs, and you're not going to make me do this. It's fine to be disrespectful on this, because you have to stand up for the truth, and you cannot be strong-armed and bullied into practicing paganism. So if your parents are not receptive to the respectful presentation, you're going to have to up the ante only after with the Tumblrina page book of, hey mom, hey dad, I'm not doing this anymore, and you can't make me, you're not going to force me, and you need to respect my beliefs. Leave it at that. So usually, almost never would I ever suggest you acting like that. But in this case, where your parents are trying to get you to engage in paganism and go against God, yeah, you can be disrespectful, because your religious beliefs come before their feelings. Now, for everybody else, for the people that are parents, I know that you guys have been wondering, what am I going to tell my kids? So again, I've told you I grew up not celebrating Halloween. So it was no big deal for me to not celebrate Halloween. Oh, what are you dressing up as? Nothing. I don't celebrate Halloween. When we had class, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, they do little class presentations where we'd all sing songs about the holidays together. And we never did Santa in my family. So we still celebrated Christmas, but we never did any of the Santa stuff. So even then, when we would do Halloween and Santa songs and things like that in class, I'd just sit there and be like this. And not one time did a teacher ever give me attitude about it. Not once did they ever question me why. Like, I think one teacher had mentioned something about Halloween, and I straight up said, oh, I don't celebrate Halloween. And that was it. They did not press the issue anymore. And I want parents to just be honest with their kids. When I was growing up, my parents told us why we didn't trick or treat, why we didn't celebrate Halloween. And we knew that this was Satan's holiday. This is a holiday all about human sacrifice and about witches and about demons and about calling up demons onto the earth. And my parents just told us the truth. So when we knew the truth, we weren't sad, we weren't upset, we weren't like, oh, wow, we're missing out so much. We're like, oh, no, we don't want to do that. That's evil. That's creepy. Your children are ready for the truth. They're old enough to hear the truth. And if they're not, they're too young for these holidays anyway. They're not going to miss these holidays anyway. If you can't have a conversation about why you celebrate them, your kids are not going to remember or feel like they're missing out because they're too little to understand. So I'm talking about the kids that are like toddlers. They're never going to remember. But remember, you're the parent. You're the one who's supposed to be teaching them and bringing them up in the ways of the Lord. It's not your church's responsibility. It's not the school system's responsibility. It's your responsibility to teach your children about your faith and about the history of these things so they know why they're doing these things or why they're abstaining from these things. So I want people to just be honest with their kids because, all of these holidays have to do with demonic human sacrifice, and parents are going to be, oh, I can't talk to them about that. Oh, it's too violent. But they have no problem buying a Wolverine costume for their child or dressing their baby up like a witch or taking their kids to a PG-13 movie or a rated R movie because they don't want to pay for a babysitter. So it's okay to dress up your kid in Star Wars gear and superhero stuff where there's constant violence, but just telling them the truth about these religious holidays, all of a sudden, oh, too violent? No, I don't buy that for a second. But Christians, it's time to be bold and be honest with your children. They're not babies. They're not stupid, and they need to know the truth. And, we had to have these conversations with my younger brother and sister because, for those of you who don't know, I have way younger siblings, and they are full siblings. My youngest sister was born when I was 18 and a half years old, so I'm more like a parent to her than a sibling. And so for like my younger brother and sister, we just told them the reasons why we weren't celebrating Christmas. Way back in Scandinavia, there are Christmas trees, and what it meant was like this was an evergreen tree, and it was supposed to represent like everlasting life of the sun god, and people would offer offerings to these demon gods by killing people and killing animals and then hanging them in the trees like ornaments. And, that doesn't glorify God. This is something that God would be very upset about. So we're not going to do these things. And we understand that your friends and family might still be engaging in these things, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to make fun of them. But if they ask us, we'll tell them the truth. But in the meantime, we're not going to do these things because this does not honor God. Just be honest with them. They're not stupid. They are not stupid. Just tell them the truth. So that's really the conversation that we had with my younger brother and sister about, why we're not celebrating Christmas. And they were fine with it. And again, people just think that we're Jewish when they find out, oh, you guys don't celebrate Christmas. But for example, like we use the same tactic when I take them to museums. Like, for example, we went to a dinosaur museum, and before we even walked in, I was like, hey kids, we already know that the world is not 1 billion years old. We know that evolution is not true, but we already know that the people that work at the museum are going to tell us these things. So we're going to be polite, and we're just going to nod our heads and be like, uh-huh. But remember, we know the truth, and that when we get back into the car, we can talk about it then. They already know. We already have these conversations. We're not going to be rude. We're not going to be jerks, but we're just going to be, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but whatever. I don't believe any of this stuff. So that's what you need to teach your kids to do, not only in religious stuff, but about these scientific things as well. Like we already know evolution's not true. You got to tell them the reasons why so that they understand and so that they're not misled. Because so often Christians won't have these tough conversations with their kids. They're afraid that their kids are going to be upset about it. When in reality, their kids really aren't going to care when they're real young. You need to tell them the truth ahead of time so that when they're in high school, when they're in college, all of a sudden you don't have this huge crisis of faith and they're like, oh, now I'm an atheist. Now everything that I've known is a lie. Just tell them the truth from the get-go, you guys. And your kids, when you tell them the truth, they're not going to be that upset. I promise you, they're not going to be that upset. So I just want to encourage you guys because we live in the world, but we're not of the world. And we just have to be bold. We have to stick up for our faith and we need to pick our battles. But when it comes to our household, choose whom this day whom you will serve. But for me and my household, we will choose to serve the Lord. That's what it comes down to. Are you going to serve the world? Are you going to care about what the world thinks? Or do you care about what God thinks? Do you want to serve God or do you want to serve the world? So I know that this is going to be tough. It's going to be emotional. And I know that these are hard conversations, but we do everything with boldness. Proverbs 28:1 tells us, the wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. So Christians, that's you. Be bold as a lion. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You're standing up for your faith. You're doing the right thing. And we have to pray for boldness. We want to come boldly before God. We want to do everything with boldness because we know that we're doing the right thing and we want to honor God. So again, I hope that answers your questions. You guys, let me know what happens when you have these conversations with your family down in the comments below. I know that some people have already emailed me, but put them down in the comments so other people can see what you're going through and offer you suggestions, because I cannot respond to every email that I get. I just cannot. I've been more than blessed with people who are joining this channel, and I just can't respond to every question or every issue that's going on. So please make sure to put them down in the comments so that you guys can also encourage each other. And again, also check out the Strava app where people are talking about their prayers and their walks around their city, where they are actually going in and they are doing spiritual warfare. They're praying for these cities. They're tearing down demonic strongholds. You guys can check that out at strava.com/club/crackyourbible. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.